Hello, my sweet tea. Welcome, welcome, welcome to my little cozy corner of the internet. I am going to be discussing 2024 goals and ways to just kind of get it all the way together. I have 5 tips that I want to kind of go through to give you guys a quick little gist of what the 5 tips are. If you want to skip and go straight to the things that you want to learn a little bit more about, by all means, but it is somewhat of a chronological order of things you can do to kind of implement them yourself. But just to get right into it, here are the 5 different tips and tricks that I will be giving you, and then feel free to go to the timestamps that best meets your need. The very first thing, we're going to be doing a lot of reflecting. So I don't believe that you can move forward without reflecting on what has happened in the past, and in order to do better and to be more informed for the future, you need to really be able to kind of do a little bit of a retrospect and kind of really delve into like the nitty gritties of your past year or your past you want to be mindful of as you continue to plan for your future. And the second thing that we're going to be reflecting on, I watch Ali Abdal's podcast and his YouTube channels and stuff, and I don't know where he said all of this, but he has a thing what he calls the will of life. My will of life is definitely that revised and kind of a little bit smaller, more achievable goals. The third thing, once we kind of have an idea of the will of life, it will help us think of our macro goals, like our really big goals that we want to try to meet. But then I want us to then break it down into micro goals. The fourth thing is common pitfalls. I want us to consider things that could possibly deter you, put you in a position where you're not in the best place to be able to even meet these goals. I want us to be able to put ourselves in the best position to kind of combat those little pitfalls as we're progressively trying to get through these little micro goals, which will lead us to our macro goals. Fifth thing, accountability. A lot of people talk about accountability, but what does that really look like? What does that really mean? And how do you put yourself in the best possible position to be accountable to yourself, but also you have those who are keeping you to your word and making you accountable for those goals that you have. But I don't think that's just anybody. You don't even have to put it out there. But how do you do that for yourself? And what does that look like, right? So that's what we're going to discuss. You do want to grab a pen and paper, sit down and really, really think through each one of these things. And I want you to write it down so that you have something to refer back to. We're not just going to talk the talk. We're going to walk the walk this year. And that's what this is all about. So pause this and grab your pen and paper. I'll see you in a second. So you're back? Okay, great. First thing I want you to do is I want you to write what day it is today, just so we have that, just so you can be like, this is the day that I made that commitment to myself, the commitment to do better, accomplish more. Number 1, reflection. So for this one, I really want you to kind of think of it as a journal, a safe space. I don't want you to be too rough on yourself, but I do want you to really, really be honest with yourself. Like, I want you to be so brutally honest that you feel like ripping it to shreds and not letting anyone else see it, because it's that important for you to be very, very vulnerable. I'm going to put up the prompts that I want you to consider. You can pause the video and write it out, but if you're listening, here are a couple of things that I want you to just think about quickly. Pause, think about it, and then continue. So the number 1 thing, what are the highlights of the past year and how did you celebrate it? Number 2, what challenges did you have in the past year that is impacting you from being able to achieve your personal goals? Number 3, what's within your control and what's outside of your control in order for you to be in the best possible position to achieve the goals that you want to achieve. Once you kind of know your goals, I want you to revisit this and think about what are the things you can control, what are the things you can't control, and then somewhat base your goals off of the things you can control. So that's what we're trying to really aim towards, but I want you to let go. And if it's something that's not within your control, I empathize and it sucks. Like it's not the best case to be like, hey, here's a long list of things I can't control, and these are all the ways in which I'm impacted and really struggling to get somewhere with it. I just want you to be like, hey, this stuff exists, acknowledge it, and then trying your best, like your very, very best to just kind of lock it up, throw it away. And that keys, I'm sure you'll find it sometime when you're kind of feeling a little shitty. You'll go back and just unlock it a little bit and think about it a little bit, ruminate in it a bit. But then you're going to close the door, you're going to lock it, and then throw it away again. And each time you're just going to keep doing that. It's just going to be a little bit easier. Like, hopefully it will be easier for you by the end of the year. Maybe it isn't, like you won't know until you try it. Hopefully what you can control are the things you're going to go out of your way to do something about it. It's going to help you, put you in the best possible position to feel just a little bit better. It's going to put you in a better mindset, a positive mindset. And maybe you can outweigh the negative thoughts and the negative feelings that you have. And by not thinking about it too much, that positive is just it just keeps going slowly but surely, higher and higher. And you're at a place where that negative, the things you cannot control, the things that you ruminate that really does hold you back, is no longer the things that does hold you back. Like, it no longer has the power that it used to have. And then the very last thing, the thing that I just kind of want you to think about as well, or thought, is if you had a vision board or some sort of like, goals list in your notes or something like that, I want you to look at that And then I want you to truly be honest with yourself. How much of it did you really get done? Put a percentage on it. Maybe it's 50%, maybe it's 30%, maybe it's 20%. Number two, I want you to still have pen and paper. And this is where the Ali Abdal's Well of Life kind of comes into play. But my revised version, it doesn't have that 9 things that he has listed out. Honestly, I thought some of them were a little bit overlapping and some of them are not relevant to some people. Like I only have 5, and I think these 5 really do encompass a lot of things. So I do think that this list is a little bit more condensed and it really allows us to kind of dig a little bit deeper into each little category a bit more. So for the 5 Will of Life categories, give it a point scale from 0 to 10. What do you think you did in all of these little categories? I have the 3 that he had, which is the mind, body, and soul. I have those the same. But then I also decided for growth, for it to have the mission and a goal and the money. And I believe that 2 of those categories, which is the mission and the money, I think sometimes are very much the growth is all in that. It's all together in one thing, right? So I think that's why I put it in one category. And then relationships. So I know that he had it separated into family and friends and then love. And for me, I feel like all relationships could honestly be important and it could apply to everyone. So not everyone has like a love life that they're really trying to pursue. And some people just don't even care for that really. Like they just want to live their life and they don't want to think about love. Then you don't have to worry about that. Like I just want you to think about relationships in general. I want you to build community in general, whether it be with a love interest or with a spouse, a boyfriend, situation, whatever the case may be for you. But I want you to think of it also in, in the friendships that you have and the families that you care about, and the people that you care about in that relationship. And maybe you don't have family that you really don't care about. There are some people who really do need, or who want to just have less of a relationship with their family for the betterment of themselves. And that's okay too. So that's why I don't have all these things listed. And maybe, your friends are like your family, or, you want to have friends that you want to make them more like your family. I want you to just consider relationships that actually really matter for you and relationships that help you get to the place that you want to get to. Like that's what I want you to focus on when I say relationships. So I want you to put them in a circle, like he has it. It's in a wheel. You to make it into like 5 pieces, whatever. And then I just want you to write a number for each of these little categories. I'll have it illustrated on how I go about doing it, but feel free to do it however you want. You can also just write it down. Write down mind and then write a score for it of where you think you're at with that. So the first one's mind. What are you doing to expand your mind? Like, what are you doing to learn a bit more? How are you more mindful of your mental health? Like, that's mind for me as well. Like, what does your mental health look like? Are you aware of it? Are there some things that you're probably trying to work towards? What are you doing to learn and to increase your knowledge base, right? Any goal that you have requires some level of knowledge. That's what I want you to think of. In what ways have you sought knowledge in the past year that has helped you to get to the goals that you're trying to get to? So yeah, I want you to think of mindfulness, mental health, and knowledge. Those are all the three little categories that goes into that. Body. Now, I think a lot of times when people say body, they automatically think fitness and are they dealing with their weight gains and bulk up a bit. And then some people want to lose weight. That's good. That's great. Fitness is definitely a part of that equation. It's also like, the nutritional things that you're eating. And I would also even go a bit further and say how much skincare is a major factor for people in their day to day and how much that impacts how they feel about themselves. So I want you to think about that too. Your skincare, your hair routine, physically apparent things about you, and that has to do with the health of your body, or even just kind of superficial wants that you have for your body, right? Like if you want a long, luscious, beautiful, voluminous hair, then you should be able to try to put that onto the body part and think about, hey, like, am I really doing that is to get into that place? And then your soul. So your soul could be, if you're a spiritual person, a religious person, or anything really, that's for you to decide what that really means for you. I know for me personally, as a Muslim, I do have like personal goals and things that I want to do better. I'm not the best and most practicing Muslim ever, but it is something that I want to get better at and just kind of like implement it into my day-to-day life and feel better about myself. I feel more at peace and complete when I feel like I've done more in the religious side of things. So I do want you to think about that as well. What does spirituality mean for you? What does your soul mean for you? What are things that brings you so much happiness? Heck, you can even say, hey, taking a bath every single night literally enriches my soul. And if you did that, I totally believe it. Go get it. The 4th thing is relationships. You consider all the different relationships that you have. It could be all or just one. Really, you could choose from the list of here. So it could be family, friends, a SO, significant other of some sort, and it could be a situationship that you're in that's probably not so good for you. And maybe you've been too many of that or for too long of it, and you want to drop that because it brings you no true value. Things like that. I want you to truly and honestly consider it. And then maybe you have friends that you really want to be more closer to, and maybe this situationship has led you from being more involved with them and having more community with them. Like, what ways can you build community and people and support with the group of people that are with you? And in what ways can you maybe remove the bad apples of these group of people and have a more fulfilling and positive environment. Lastly, growth. What have you done for yourself, like growth wise? And this might have something to do with all the other parts as well, but in what ways have you grown this year? In what ways have you met maybe a mission of yours that you've had? And this kind of goes back to that old vision board thing. What growth have you had in that time period? What missions did you have in that time period? And how have you done in that score that you have? Maybe there's additional things that you haven't considered. Maybe you've increased your money and your wealth, but maybe you haven't really met the mission that you have for that. Like maybe you wanted to have a lot more money, but one of your missions was for you to be able to kind of donate a certain amount of money to this place or to financially support this person in your life, and you weren't able to do that for them, or you somehow lost track of that. Be mindful of your mission, the goals that you had in the past year, and the money that you're making. And maybe money isn't a factor for you, and that's not something you care about, then don't care about that. But choose what matters to you. Number three, I want you to then look at your will of life in those 5 categories, right? 2 to 3 things that you could do to improve on those categories. If you're not at a 10, then there's at least 2 to 3 things that you can do to improve on those particular categories. Now, they're not going to be big, right? So those are like things that you can do, whatever. These are like kind of more micro goals and all of the SMART method. And that's an abbreviation. So S stands for specific, narrow it down. M to be measurable. What does success mean for that particular goal at the end of 2024? A, attainable. Make sure it's something that you can do. It's achievable, something that you can do and it's within your control. That's the reason why we wrote the whole like control and not control. If it's not within your control, then I don't want you to put that down, right? Like what's within your control, something that you can do and it's achievable for you. R, relevant. Is it relevant to your goal? Is it something that really will make a difference to your goal? The will of life, each of the categories, is it something that's really going to do something for that particular goal that you have in that particular will of life? And T, time based. Obviously, in our particular case, we're thinking of it as all the way till the end of 2024. But maybe you want to give yourself a couple checkpoints along the way. Maybe you do like a quarterly check in, that every 3 months you're like, hey, did I reach this particular goal? And that's what I want to achieve. And scientifically proven that it really helps. So I'm a huge advocate of the SMART method. It sounds a little like, interviewee and job based and stuff, but really it makes all the damn difference. And there's a reason why companies do this. There's a reason why people who are really successful follow the SMART method because it really does work, and do that for each of the categories. Number 4, this is more of a reminder than anything really. What made it so hard for you to be able to get these things done? Or what can you foresee making these things really hard for you to get done? And then I want you to criticize yourself just a bit, like just a little bit. I'm not about like criticizing yourself so much so that you like, I hate myself. None of that stuff. In what ways do you contribute to you not being able to get to that goal? I know that for me, I'm a bit of a perfectionist. So that really does prevent me from getting some goals that I have done. Like I want everything to be exactly a certain type of way, and if it's not, then I think it's worthy of being scrapped. It's those type of mentalities that does not help you get to where you need to get to. So think about: are you a procrastinator? Are you a perfectionist? Do you need constant inspiration just to get your ass up and doing something? Are you a constant planner? Like, are you planning so much so that you get little to no action done? Why haven't you gotten to the goals that you really, really want? It's because you're likely afraid of failing. I need you to reframe the thought processes that you have, and I need you to think about why you've been falling into these traps and how best to combat it. And I don't want us to be in this constant loop of inaction. So it's okay if you were doing that last year. It's okay if you were doing that the year before. Hell, it's okay if you were doing it for the past 10 years. But I want you to say that 2024, you're just not doing it. Like it's not for you and you're not doing it. In 2024, you have all the intentions of doing better because you can. And I hope it's a gentle reminder. And this is note to self, by the way. All of this stuff is things that I literally have to tell myself sometimes, like regularly. But if you needed to hear it, then here's your message. Like I hope that's something that you can, and you need to come back to it and come back to it and rewatch it every single once in a while because it's a reminder we all need. Lastly, number 5, not everyone needs to know about your goals. Like you do not have to tell everybody. You don't even have to tell like your parents. You don't have to tell your friends. You don't have to tell anyone really. But if you do choose to tell them, then I want you to consider the fact that there's a science behind why you shouldn't share your goals to people. There's people who are going to have maybe like a negative feeling about your goals, right? Or kind of look at you like you're crazy. Like why would you even do that and stuff like that? Like those people don't matter. If you even have the thought that they might not be fully on board with you, then you know that you shouldn't go to them and tell them anything at all so that you don't get that negative reinforcement from them that you can't do it or whatever. Like, you don't need any of that. Don't tell anyone who's not 100% for you anything at all about yourself, goals or otherwise, especially the goals. And on the other side, on the flip side of it, and possibly kind of equally harmful in a sense, is If they're praising you already for it, like you didn't do anything, but yet they're like, you can do it and you're so capable of it. And that's amazing that you're doing it. Those praises, although they're coming from a good place, are also not good for you as well. Like scientifically proven that it's not good for you at all because you get this kind of premature gratification and reward from feeling like you somehow did something when you did nothing at all. It's the worst possible thing you can do for yourself because you're literally not going to do the thing itself. So typically proving you're less likely to get it done. But there's a study where they got like 111 kids and then they broke them into three groups. They got those that they gave what they call a person praise, which is saying, hey, you're a good person, you're capable of doing this, like it's solely within your wheelhouse, like that type of feedback. And then there's another group of them where they gave them process praise. So they based it off, their praises was only based off of the process of which they've already applied. So they were like, hey, you did this, this, and this right. Like that was great. And that process that you had was really cool. And then they have those that they gave no praises at all to. The people that they gave the person praise to, saying that you're a good person and it's really cool that you're doing this and like you're so naturally good at this, that, and the third, like those type of praises. And they based it off of the person itself without any actions. That person was out of the three group, they were the least successful. The next group was those that got no praise at all. They were pretty much close to those that got process praise, and they were pretty much neck to neck, but still process praise was one that actually got the best score. So it's like if you do have loved ones and you do trust them and believe that they're there for you in the best possible way, then maybe you can just tell them, say, hey, if you're going to give me a praise, then give it to me because I implemented this, that, and the third. And then have them be accountable to you on those particular processes that you've been implementing and the results of those processes, and then getting the positive feedback of that. But if you're getting none, that's okay. It's not, you can still work with that. It doesn't mean that those people failed. It just means that their success level is just a little bit harder for them, but they still got somewhere with it. And sometimes even those people, there were a couple outliers that actually did better than that of the people who got praised for their process. Yeah. So for number 5, to sum it up, you want to look for the right accountability buddy and make sure it's somebody who loves you, who cares about you, who wants you to succeed, and then that you teach them the way that you need them to support you, which is not to give you person praises, but to give you instead process praises. That's the best way that you can get the help that you need. If you listen to all 5 of those tips, I'm really happy that you're still here. And here's your bonus one. I want you to be mindful of low resistant tasks that you can do on a day to day basis. So once you have all your goals set out, your micro goals set out, consider low resistant tasks that you can do daily that will make your life easier for you. So, for instance, if you're trying to eat more healthy, then meal prepping, for instance, one day out of the week where it really pushes you to get everything done, but also keeps you in a really good position for the rest of the week to have options and things that you can eat. That's really good. Maybe you sleep with your gym outfits on, like it may seem a little bit weird, but maybe that's what you need. You need to sleep with it so that you can wake up in the morning and go straight to the gym. Put yourself in the best possible position to get things done with the lowest level of resistance. So, yeah, I hope that helped you. I believe in you. You simply need to believe in yourself and you're capable of getting this stuff done. And I know that we're capable of both doing it. It's going to be hard for me to get this done, but I'm going to do it too. And our goals are not just, to set us up for this year, it's to set us up for life. I know it sounds cheesy. It's not a destination, it's a journey. And this is just a step forward in the right direction. Let's do it. Let's do the darn thing.
Thanks for making it to the end. And if you found any value, please like, comment, and subscribe. It would literally mean the world to me. And I can't wait to see you in the next one.
Until then, bye, sweet tea.